Oh god, I'm out of practice. Where do I put this? Right there. Kitty. What up, YouTube? I am back. I think in my last video I said that I was gonna be gone for a few weeks. Yeah, that turned into like 6 months. Sorry. I guess it would be maybe helpful to like explain why I was gone. I don't know. Maybe you guys don't even really care, but the short answer is depression. Basically what happened was I moved into my new apartment where I now currently sit, and I felt very invigorated, you know, as you do. It's a large expenditure of energy and I was very jazzed up. The move went off without a hitch, so I felt like $1 million when I got in here, but I very quickly crashed and then suffered like a 5-month art block, and therefore I had no content to produce for my YouTube channel. And frankly, I just wasn't interested in doing it anyway. I knew that I didn't want to try to make myself fill in the gaps on the channel with a bunch of fluff that wasn't really anything I was truly passionate about, and I figured that wouldn't make very interesting videos to watch anyway, so I just decided to ride out my break until I felt like I was in a good headspace again. That brings me, of course, to some housekeeping notes, because I am not going to be uploading as frequently as I once did when I first began my art YouTube channel. You know, some things have changed. I used to produce 1 video a week, which was really fun, like don't get me wrong, but I have since started going back to the office 2 days a week for my full-time job, so I don't have the luxury of being at home all throughout the week. Unless I have that kind of flexibility, it just requires so much effort and so much work for me to like make myself a weekly deadline. It turned YouTube into another full-time job when I already have a full-time job. So the only time that I'm going to be showing up here is when I actually have something to produce for you guys. And I want to focus that on passion projects. I want you guys to enjoy yourselves, but first and foremost, I must enjoy myself. And I'm actually really excited because I have an idea for some paintings that I want to do. The last time I did a painting like this was 5 years ago. It was sort of right at the inception of me embracing my love of acrylic paint. Now that I've got more experience with painting in acrylics under my belt, I want to try it again, and that is, I'm going to do an acrylic pour. Good morning. Okay, so today is the fateful day. I received the last of my materials last night in a package at my doorstep, which got me very excited because today, it is the day. I haven't done this in years, but the only thing I recall from doing it like 5 years ago was that it is messy as hell, and there will be paint splatters everywhere. Now I have a tarp out in my car that I plan to use to sort of prep my floor to protect my carpet as much as I can. I procured yesterday a butane torch so that we can pop bubbles on the surface of our canvas and make sure that, you know, when they dry, they don't leave pock marks. That's very important. I have prepared 2 canvases, because they're pieces of plywood. One of them is here. This is just a 9x12, and this will be attempt number 1, which will hopefully work out. And then if that is successful, I also prepped a long boy. I don't actually know the dimensions of this one. How do you math? What's 9 times 3? 27? 27? This might be 27 by 12 inches. I'll measure it later. It's not important right now. I'm also gonna try to do a multiple camera setup, which I've never done before. So you can wish me luck in that endeavor because the girl is low budget. Oh my god, I am nervous. And I'm also ready. I'm gonna get myself psyched because this is the day. This is the day that we do the big messy art project. Before we do any of that though, we have a duty. Oh, get hyped! Get hyped! It's breakfast time! It's breakfast time! There you go, my sweets. Bon appetit! You okay? Do you feel supported? Friends. Oh, Pixel, you're so good to the piggies. hi there. I'm wearing my paint shirt. I bought this specifically for a photo shoot that I did with my photographer friend Mark, where we took these frankly very beautiful pictures of me literally covered in paint. He and his son and me all took turns like slopping acrylic paint all over my body. And I felt like a piece of art myself. And now I have this thing that I can use as kind of like a tunic for when things are about to get messy. I have covered my floor in a tarp. The table, which is covered both in my rag rug, which I use to like gesso and varnish various surfaces for painting, and I put wax paper over it. All right, so we've got our first surface here. I'm gonna prop it up on this Tupperware container. This is actually like a homemade wet palette, but it'll work perfectly. We've got several bottles of pouring medium available to us. We've got a jar full of palette knives. Got some plastic cups for the mix-ins. I couldn't find coffee stirrers, so we're just gonna use plastic knives. I've also got my extension cord that has my hair dryer at the ready. My God, this process is already so involved. I'm already tired. And then there's my butane torch. The idea is you have to pre-mix your colors and then let them sit for like, I don't know, maybe 10-15 minutes just to let the bubbles sort of settle out of them. So what I am going to do, I'm gonna pop one of these puppies open. I'm going to be adding some to each cup. We'll do 5 colors. Give that a nice stir. Gorgeous. This medium is apparently fully transparent, so if you didn't add any paint into it, it would dry fully clear. I'm literally just, whoa. This is why I put the tarp down. All right, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start with white and I'm gonna like do a big drizzle. Try to get some of this like over top the canvas. I do have a brush somewhere, maybe I should use that instead. We're just gonna let it gloop, it's fine. I mean, there is a reason why we're doing this on a smaller practice canvas before we commit it to the larger one. And now we do strip this. All right, here goes nothing. I feel like I'm doing something wrong. Why is this so gloopy? I remember this being way runnier. I am gonna just manipulate it with the palette knife. This is a disaster. It is, it's forming like a skin on the top. Is that just from the hair dryer? I can't do this. I can't. This looks god awful. We're just using it all. I don't know what else to do about this, except for just embrace the chaos at this point. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand why it's forming like a skin on top. I don't know if perhaps I should have maybe added water to my pouring medium mixture, and it's upsetting to me because this is not cheap. I'm just using my hands at this point. Screw it. I'm not gonna lie, just from like fussing with this with my fingers, it looks a lot better than just doing the pour sort of on its own. Ugh. I mean, my fingers look beautiful. This is not what I wanted, so I am deeply disappointed in this, but I am going to save it. Let nothing go to waste. I'm gonna scrape up the underside. My hands are so sticky. All right, here comes the hot torch. God, that looks so gross. Like, I wish you could see it from an angle because it's not smooth. Like, ugh, this was crap, man. Okay, I have to go wash my hands. First attempt was definitely a bust. I have to do some more research and figure out how the hell I'm supposed to make this look the way it's supposed to look. Okay, take 2. I'm getting another pour ready for the bigger canvas, and I have since gone online. Unfortunately, I've found very little in terms of helpful advice. So what I'm determining based on this is that the kind of like pour that I'm looking to do requires water. Now, I was not expecting to have to mix water into this paint. I thought the flow would happen from the pouring medium alone. In fact, I'm bothered by this because ideally you do not want to have to dilute your paint with too much water. You don't want it to compromise the binder because then it will crack. And I'm so scared that, yeah, see, that's too thick. I need something that flows a lot more than that. So I have to add water to this, but I'm hoping that only by adding a little bit of water, I'll get the correct consistency that I'm looking for. All right, seriously, like the smallest amount of water went into this, maybe like a teaspoon of water. And I want to make sure that all of my paints are appropriately mixed. Yeah, see, that's flowing a lot better. So I'm hoping that this works. You guys don't understand how scared I am right now. Okay, here goes nothing. Wait. Move some of this crap out of the way. Only have the things that I need immediately at hand. Okay. Let's just spread this out then. Just slopping it on. Sloppy slop. It is, it's like running off of this piece of plywood really, really fast. Hopefully that's good enough. Whoa, that was a lot. You know what? It's fine. It's fine. This is fine. We're just riffing. Well, the consistency is definitely better than the last time. Shoot. All right, here it goes. All right, hold on a second. We need more white. The rest of my colors, parts of the edges. I don't even really care about being precious anymore. This has been such a roller coaster of emotions this entire process. Like, seriously, to anybody watching this, if this is something that you do, like a hobby that you do frequently, please throw me some like tips or pointers, because I was pretty sure I followed the instructions exactly, and for whatever reason the first go around was horrible. Now I will say that the result in terms of like the splatters and stuff is working out a lot better this go around. I should have made more white. All right, I do think I'm gonna mix up some more white. It's so messy. I am using so much medium. I'm just gonna keep futzing with it. At this point, why not, right? Oh, well, I actually enjoy what this looks like compared to the other one. Like, I would put a painting over this, hell yeah. I do kind of wish that I hadn't added so much black. Try to fix that a little bit. Alright, I'm afraid if I mess with this too much, that it is going to start drying again prematurely. Because the more I'm blowing hairdryer air onto it. I do have it on the cold setting, but, you know, just in case. Let's torch it. Okay, now that I've adequately played with fire, now we just have to let this sit. This one looks pretty. Doesn't look the way that I wanted it to look, but as long as I'm pleased with the result in the end, it doesn't matter how it looks. Acrylic pours are meant to be unpredictable, and I was expecting this to be a very unpredictable process, a very unpredictable result. The first attempt, I can't say I was expecting to fail so horribly that time around. I will see you on the flip side. Last night, after finishing this art project, I had very exasperatedly proclaimed that I would never do it again. I mean, look at my hands. I've washed my hands so many times and they still look like this. And yet, when I woke up today, I kind of wanted to do it again. And so I did. I did it again. And then again. I'm not obsessed, you're obsessed. It's fine. This is fine. I'll tell you what, I will never poo-poo this hobby ever again. I remember once thinking, shoot me for saying this, but that's not real art. It is though. It's fun. Art should be fun. And I was probably a snob at one point in my life to think that this was just an easy way to get a pretty result. First of all, it's not easy at all. It's very involved. It requires a lot of materials, very quick reflexes, a lot of preparatory work, a lot of money. The amount of media you use in acrylic pouring is kind of bonkers. Once I had a bunch of mixed paint, I just did a bunch of canvases. I pulled out some duds that had been sitting in my cabinet back here for far too long, with failed projects on them, and I was like, I'm just gonna pour over it. And now I see why people are obsessed, because it's like, once you start, you can't really stop until you have either expended all of the media you've pre-mixed, or if you have some kind of like proper storage, you can sort of save it for later. But in my case, like, I can't keep my living room tarped. Unfortunately, this isn't really like a proper art studio. I just decided to get it all out of my system in one weekend. Cheers. But that means that I now have to wait for a very long time until these bitches dry, so that I can actually see what my final results are, and then see if I can do any paintings over them. Did I mention that that's why I was doing this? I don't know. I have a hard time recalling what I've said to camera, but yeah, my whole like purpose of doing these acrylic pours was because I wanted to paint portraits over them. Maybe I'll save that for another video. This one's already got a lot of footage. But what an adventure, eh? And even though I'll have to make a final determination after I take the tarp up, I'm pretty sure nary a drop of this stuff has gotten on my carpet, so I am incredibly lucky. All right, my dears, it's time for a check-in. Sorry, I've got Chinese food stuck in my teeth. Let me flip the camera around and we will see all of the paintings that I created. All right, so numero uno. This was the quote-unquote failure. And I don't dislike it. Like, I have to clarify that it has been several days since you last saw me, because waiting for all of these puppies to dry took a really long time. I actually do quite like the look of this. Now, it wasn't what I wanted, and I think because the process was so stressful that may have influenced my initial opinion of it, but coming back to it, I really enjoy it. Like, I like the color scheme. I think that the colors separated and created lovely like ribbon patterns very beautifully. I'm doing some experiments on this surface, which explains these strips here. Like, I used some painter's tape just to see how crisp my lines could get, and just to see like how well paint will adhere to the surface. The pouring medium that I purchased was the Liquitex pouring medium, but in a matte finish instead of like a gloss or a satin, and that's because I thought that might assist me in getting some better adhesion when I paint over it, because my idea is, of course, to like put portraits or whatever it is over these. So that's turned out to be pretty successful. I'm quite a fan. Now, something to note about this is, especially for this one, but you know, it applies to all of them. All of the ones that I did way up there and then this one down here, is that they all have imperfections on them. However, I am surprised that this is the only one of the bunch that I can tell that has like a very substantial crack in it. And that's remarkable to me because this is the only one that I didn't include water in my paint pour mixture. I'm a little mind blown. I'm not gonna lie, I think that that's hilarious. But yes, they all in some form contain little pock marks. You can see one there on the corner. There's a really big one right there where you can see some blue poking through. And I might try to like do some experiments with acrylic mediums, like gel medium, in order to fill them in so I get a more smooth surface in order for me to paint over. But, you know, if it's just spot correction, I don't think that that's going to be a problem. The next one, let me move my paint water here, is this one. And this was by far, I think, one of my most successful attempts. I think this one's my favorite. It's got lots of motion and pretty colors. I just love this color palette. I'm pleased with it. It's what I had in my mind's eye, so no complaints here. And again, this one also, like, if you get up close to it, you can see there's a bump right there. There's some pock marks towards the bottom. Nothing that I don't think can't be mended before I end up putting something over it. Attempt number 3 is over here. And this one actually turned out really cool too. This is maybe my second favorite. Again, lots of motion, very cool. The paint that I used for this, yeah, it's not so bad. It doesn't seem as lumpy as it looks, honestly, but there were some areas where I think the paint got like a little bit too like congealed and created some bumps. I did this over a canvas that had previously painted in a dark color, and you can tell in the white, like where the white paint is thicker, it's showing up as more opaque, and then there's a more translucent version of white beside it. But honestly, I think that looks kind of cool. So I'm very pleased with it. It looks pretty dope. And then for the rest of the small boys, okay, so this one is actually a dirty pour of the paints that I had used for these two. Except I don't think, oh no, I did include some white because it's in the corners, but what's funny to me is that I did like a flip cup and it left an impression. It's not actually like a divot. Like, this is probably the smoothest of all the canvases that I finished. It's just for whatever reason it left like a ring here from the cup. I don't know, I didn't think that was going to happen, but this color palette reminds me of an oil slick. I think it's pretty cool. And then this one, this was an attempt that I made that had substantially more water in it. And this one is probably the least smooth out of all of them, just like in terms of the entire surface. But I love the colors. You can tell that I just have a deep love of the color purple. Oh, and you know what's funny to me? This is not a hair. That's paint. It is, that's paint. That's perfectly smooth. I went to go like pick that out thinking it was like a cat hair. Nope, that's paint. It's just there to play tricks on my eyes. And then finally, this was my last dirty pour. Yeah, this one's actually not so bad, but there are a few pock marks in it. No big deal. And this was the leftover paint
from this guy. And I'm surprised at how much white actually stayed on this surface, because a lot of the other colors that I had mixed came out a lot more noticeably on this sort of like dirty pour that I did. And this one was super fun because I wasn't really going for any rhyme or reason. I just poured everything in layers into a cup, gradually poured it over the surface, gave it a good turn until all the corners were covered, and it just looks cool. You guys, paint pouring is freaking cool. I think that this experiment has been overall satisfactory, so I have nothing to complain about. And in my next video, we will return to these canvases because we're going to put some pretty pictures over them. After all of this work, I still have more work to do. I may not include all of the canvases that I completed here in my next video, but I don't know, we'll see. We'll see what I'm feeling, because this was a lot of work, but it was also very quick work, whereas taking your time painting a portrait usually takes generally longer to do. So I will make my selections accordingly, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, ciao everybody.